Salute to you all. The brave never fall. I'm Coach MJD Tiger, life coach and mentor. My purpose is to help others every single day. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Welcome to Visions. Integrity reinforces our personal boundaries. We have to be what we expect from others, especially when others aren't around us. It's not about what we do when everyone's looking at us, when we are getting the attention we believe we deserve. It's when we aren't getting that attention we believe we deserve. We have to earn the attention we believe we deserve by doing the things when no one's looking. We have to do those things when no one's looking, and we have to do them powerfully because we have to earn the respect of others. We have to be what we expect others to be for us. We can't ask and not give in return. Relationships are about giving, not receiving. One of my favorite books is by far Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, who just happens to be my unofficial mentor. Physically and mentally, this guy taught me to go beyond who I actually thought I could be by getting me to get myself involved in marathons, which is what he did. He's an ultra marathon runner, Navy SEAL. It's inspiring to read his book to see that he came from nothing, absolutely nothing, and the things that he endured, his physical challenges that he imposed on himself. No one asked him to do these things. These are things you want to talk about integrity. This is the living definition of integrity, this book. Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Cannot recommend it enough. It is life-changing. There are no excuses, and all excuses stop after you read this book. I guarantee it. How are you feeling? How are you feeling mentally, in your mind? How are you feeling physically throughout your body? How are you feeling emotionally within your heart? How are you feeling spiritually within your soul? Every single day I ask myself this. When I wake up, throughout the day, and before I lay my head down for peaceful, powerful sleep. I recommend and encourage you to do the same. In this moment right now, take a moment of silence for yourself and ask yourself genuinely, how are you feeling? Mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. How are you feeling? You are climbing your volcanoes alone. That may sound like something that is not an affirmation, but it is. That means you have the strength of yourself, and without others around you to prop you up, you have what it takes to get through whatever it is you know you have to get through. Believe in yourself and trust yourself. You are. visions. Episode 3, we're all under construction. We can't be in our minds telling ourselves each and every day that every single thing that we do is perfect, or it's good enough, or maybe tomorrow. We have to accept the fact that we're not perfect, that is not good enough, and that there is no tomorrow if we're not doing the things we're supposed to be doing correctly the best we can right now. We can't look in the mirror and diagnose ourselves and say, well, if I only change this one thing, everything would be better. If only that was true. If only that was something that could be really put into practice, put and charted on a blueprint, and we can look at that every single day and say, yep, that's exactly right there what I need to do to change my life forever. And once I do this one thing, I'll have the man or woman of my dreams. I have the job that I want, the salary. I'll have the cars, the white picket fence, the dogs and the cats. I have the vacations. I'll be set. If that was the case, we would have figured that out before we graduated high school. We would have figured that out before we even graduated elementary school, because it's never one thing. It's always something. In nature, and I love trees. I work around trees all the time. And one of the questions I get asked all the time for people who don't know a lot about trees is that, what's going on? I see something here. I see some discoloration. I see this. I see that. And I have to often explain to them, what you're seeing is one of many things that are all working together to contribute to this one issue, because this is happening because the tree is weak in other areas. But this tree next to it is working just fine. This tree over here, beside it over here, is completely healthy. And I said, well, if you look at this tree as a person, you will find very clearly that as individuals, if somebody's healthy on the right of you and somebody's healthy on the left of you, that does not guarantee that you in the middle are going to be healthy. And then they understand. We can't look at one thing and then say, hey, this is one thing to fix it, and I'm going to compare myself to these people around us. The people around me are fine. So that means I should be fine too, because this person's fine, this person's fine. They're not fine. And I have to explain that to them as well. Just because those trees look fine does not mean the roots underneath aren't dying. And that this timeline for this tree is not the same timeline as the other tree and the tree in the middle that seems to be further along. And typically, you will find, just like in trees, the tree that looked like it was going to die ends up thriving, and the ones that look like they were healthy end up dying. Only time will tell. But we have to do our due diligence. The other trees died because they were not paying any attention, because they looked and appeared to be fine. Well, the tree in the middle got all this attention, and it was going to survive anyway. It was just going through a season. The season just happened to be longer than the other ones. We as people are no different. We are always under construction. We can analyze, we can look into ourselves, but we have to understand it's not one thing. It's never one thing. It can't be. It's impossible. Because one thing leads to another. We already talked about mind, body, heart, and soul. The reason I do that how are you feeling exercise daily is because none of those things are ever 100% perfect. The mind is going to be weaker one day than the heart. The body weaker one day than the soul. The soul is going to be stronger one day, and it's going to be stronger than the heart. the body is going to be stronger than the mind. The parts that are weak need attention. The parts that are strong, you let them carry the weight for that day. And that's how I view it. That's how I get through every single day, every single issue, person, place, or thing that pops up throughout my day. It is through the strength of whatever I have the most will to use that particular day. If my body and my soul have to carry the weight of the mind and the heart, then so be it. But I'm not going to make excuses about where the weak areas are. I have to find the strengths and concentrate on those and say, these are the things I need to concentrate on today. Yes, the weaknesses are there, but a lot of times they're just fatigued. It's like if you do something where you get exhausted, rest alone is not going to help you recover. You also have to have hydration. You need food. You need time to heal. It's not just one thing and then you're fine. And we also have to look at the end game. What is the goal? Even in something like recovery, there is a goal. I want to feel this way before I do this activity again. When we go to sleep at night, I need this much sleep so I can get all this stuff done tomorrow. If I don't get enough sleep, I'm not going to be my best. There's always a goal. But how do we get to a goal if we're not constructing things? If we're not pinpointing what we need? People write lists every single day. Honey-do lists, to-do lists. You check them off and it makes you feel great. Why don't we do that with ourselves each and every day, with what we have to do that are things that are truly aligned with bringing us peace, bringing us happiness? And we can do these things in advance. We can make lists that surround things that will truly bring us peace, happiness, and joy, that will truly give us what we need to prepare. If we look at them under the lens of something needs to be focused on, we take for granted the next day. We think, I'll have enough. It'll be fine. No, it won't, and no, it won't. It won't be because you're not even prepared for the unexpected. And I always say, expect the unexpected, but don't be surprised by it ever. There's no reason for you to ever be surprised by unexpected things. They are supposed to happen. That is the whole point of being a human being. We will be surprised every single day by unexpected things that we cannot control. But there's nothing worse than going in the kitchen to make a meal and you don't have half the ingredients. You've been looking forward to it all day. I can't wait to eat this meal. I can't wait to prepare and cook this meal. Damn, I didn't get anything prepared to cook this meal. I have half of it, but I assumed that I had the rest. If we apply that same logic to our lives, boy, are we lost. Because we can't go into every single day assuming and hoping we have all of the ingredients to get through the day. We need to know that. We need to pick up that batch of groceries the night before. We don't want to be scrambling at the last minute trying to figure things out when we had ample amount of time, plenty of time to figure these things out ahead of time. Because there are always things that are going to be thrown our way in terms of curveballs. We aren't going to catch every single one. We're going to strike out. We need backup plans. We need extra batters in the dugout. Hell, we need a ballpark to play in. We need to figure all these things out. They always talk about time and place for a meeting. You can't meet up with someone if you don't know when and where to meet up with them. It's the same with our individual selves. How can we do anything properly if we don't know when and how we're going to do it? If this particular issue pops up, we can be prepared ahead of time. We don't have to guess. That's why some people, we all see people like this. Something will pop up, it's unexpected, and it's just like they're frozen. Then they get angry because they don't know what to do. Then they get frightened because they don't know what decision to make. Then they panic because the decisions they're making aren't panning out. Then they're frustrated because the people that they thought would normally come up and help them aren't there anymore. Or they can't help them. They got their own stuff to deal with. Wouldn't it have been so much easier if you expected life to throw you these curveballs and you roll with the punches, you go with the flow of the water, and you deal with it one moment at a time? How do we know we can do that? We have to know what we're made of. What have we constructed daily, to be able to deal with things that are unexpected and not be surprised by them? How we do it is by understanding who we are in our core. To know that we have the ability to deal with A, B, and C. How do we know this if we don't put ourselves through situations confidently and accept the fact that we're not going to win every time? That a lot of winning comes in a lot of failures. A lot of construction comes from a lot of planning. We are always under construction, meaning we are constantly planning what our next move should be in terms of getting through each and every moment. You can't wing building a mansion. There's no way a construction crew shows up to a construction site and say, hey guys, let's be creative today. That's not how that works. They know what to do. The creative aspect of it has already been done. Now we just act upon what's in the blueprints. But damn, when did we write the blueprints? When did we not write the blueprints? That's part of the problem. A lot of us, including myself, I remember I went through this. We think we're more clever and creative than we actually are with our lives. We think, well, this is a good decision. I'll roll the dice and I'll gamble with this and I'll see what happens because I know I'm strong enough to deal with it. We talk ourselves into bad situations. We talk ourselves into bad decisions because we believe our mind, body, heart, and soul are more stable than we actually are. Which is why integrity, which we talked about the quote earlier, integrity is a huge part of being under construction because that's the blueprint phase. The integrity part is figuring out how to do this stuff when no one's around. That's when the true mistakes need to be made, is when you're charting and drafting up this blueprint of your life, of who you are. That's when you make your mistakes. You don't make them when it's time to start building. It's too late then. You can't change anything. It is what it is. And we find ourselves stuck in this loop of, well, it's good enough. It's perfect. I'll fix it tomorrow. That doesn't work. I hope somebody helps me. That doesn't work. I've said this plenty of times, and I'm a spiritual person. We can pray, we can hope, we can wish, but at some point, it doesn't matter if we don't take action ourselves and actually do something. We can't hope the blueprint is filled out by a genie. We can't pray that the blueprint is going to work out perfectly because we're going to have all this help. So we overplan and hope people help us with our own blueprint we made for ourselves. This is integrity we're talking about. We're under construction. People move into homes and they hate the floor plan. Why? Because they didn't plan the floor themselves. They're stuck with somebody else's blueprint. So why would we want, if we are able to have our own blueprints, our own clear blank canvas to create what we want and need for ourselves based on known things that work, good values, morals, principles? We can create what we want, but we procrastinate. We'll sit back, we'll second guess, we don't trust the process, and we hope and we pray and we wish that people would just help us with our blueprint instead of focusing in and accepting we are under construction individually. We can ask for help once we know what we need, not before. We can't ask for help for something we don't know exists. We can't hope people will be there for us to endure things that we created for ourselves that don't work because we were overly ambitious or not ambitious enough. And people are saying, why would I help you with that when you could literally do that yourself? We can't ask for help for everything in the world. We can't pray and wish for everything. Some things are more satisfying and far more life-changing when we accept the challenge, create the challenge, healthy challenges, not unhealthy, productive, positive challenges that lead to positive results. If we're doing these things ourselves behind closed doors when no one's looking, where do you think self-discipline comes from? I tell people this all the time. Self-discipline comes from when no one's looking. Integrity. Finding out, truly diving into yourself and saying, this is where I need to be in this moment, and I accept it. It's not perfect. It's a good start. I'll start building it ASAP, but I'm not going to accept the fact that I have to have other people always helping me with this thing. That goes back to the volcano aspect of you facing the volcano alone is actually healthy. It doesn't mean it's going to be permanent. It's indefinite. You don't know how long you're going to be alone. You don't know how much help you're actually going to have. At some point, you have to know, what can you do? If everything else was taken away, could you do it by yourself? And the only person that can really answer that question is you. And people will test you. Life will test you. Places will test you. Things will test you. They will come at you in waves. And you have to stand back and say, I can endure this with or without people. But if I can endure most of this myself, I know that when I do get the help, I'm going to be far more grateful. I won't take people for granted. I won't devalue people. And I'll be much more willing to give to other people instead of just taking all the time. We talk about in relationships. Relationships are about giving. You go into relationships to give. You have to start with a relationship with yourself first. You can't just keep taking from yourself and not giving anything back. You have to give yourself something. You have to give your mind knowledge, your heart. You have to give your heart empathy. You have to physically give your body a chance to be healthy. Remember, we talked about those trees. If they're not healthy, they have no chance. The roots, they have no chance. Spiritually, you have to give yourself some morals, some principles that you're willing to stand by, and not stand by them selfishly, but stand by them because, damn it, they mean something to you in a way that's going to be beneficial to people around you if you want them around you. That is the part of being under construction that sucks to a lot of people, is that it requires you to do this stuff 24/7, 365 without excuses, and you need to be disciplined and consistent with it. Or otherwise, people get thrown off. One day you're like this. The next day you're like this. The next day you're with these group of friends. The next day you're with these group of friends. The next day you're with these old friends. And then you have these friends and these friends. Certain groups of friends are like, wait, which one are you really? Because this is too much. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to be consistent with it. And you can't complain about it. Which is why I choose to keep a very small circle. That's just more consistent with who I am. My men's group, my friends from work, my family, people that I want in my life, it's a small group that works for me. But there's other people who have big pods and groups of people. That's fine, but be consistent with it, and we have to make sure that it's serving us in the right way. But we have to also remember that in any of those relationships, because you have more people, you got to remember we're in relationships to give. And only through giving do we receive. And if it's not happening, that is not a relationship. That is a transaction. Whether it's a friend, family member, churchgoer, co-worker, it doesn't matter. You have to have something that you're giving in order to receive something positively. And that is what life is all about. We have to be strong enough to know what are the things that we're good at giving, and do they mean something? Do they serve us in a positive way? Because if they serve us in a positive way, they serve others in a positive way. I choose to give because I choose to receive in return what I give out. That's healthy. That's something that has helped me a lot because I didn't always get that concept. And the only way we truly know that, again, is if we know ourselves. And the best we know ourselves is we have to figure out through action, not inaction. There is plenty of time to pray, wish, and to have people help us. There's plenty of time for that. That will happen when we know ourselves, when we're good people and we're giving. Through empathy and truly understanding people and having patience and understanding the process of others are reflections of the process we have for ourselves. If you see someone else struggling, odds are at some point you will return to suffering. That's just life. So we can't look at someone who is suffering and say, chump, loser. That's not how that works. You look at that person, you say, that's going to be me at some point. Do I want those words coming my way from somebody else that I love, that I trust? No. Being genuine with yourself, being honest with yourself about your process. When you look at someone else who's unfortunate, it may not be the exact same way, but at some point you will be just as unfortunate. You will fail. Things won't work out. And you're going to hope, pray, wish that we did enough giving that we can have someone help us. Willingly want to help us. We don't want to beg for it. We don't want handouts either. We just want some aid. And we deserve it because that's what we've been doing the whole time. Through empathy, aiding others. That only happens when we are under construction. People need to see that we are still continuing to work on ourselves because they are. They haven't accepted the fact that, most of the people around us aren't perfect, right? The vast majority of people around us are not perfect. And we want people around us to understand that there's fun, blissful fun to be had in growing and making mistakes. Because you get to experience the joy of winning and overcoming. Again, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, that book. It's about the journey, the process of failing and saying, eventually, even if it's for 1 second of joy, I'm going to do this. Eventually, I'm going to have the relationship that I want. I'm going to have the job that I want. I'm going to have everything I want, but it has to be earned. And it has to be earned when no one's looking. It has to be earned when you're facing that volcano by yourself. It has to be earned when you're that tree that's not feeling well and you're trying to get your roots under control and you're relying on other people to help you. That's when it's earned. Now, what happens when we win? It's a lot of talking about the process. There's a lot of talking about what we do, how we do it, when we do it, where we do it. What happens when it's done? When you say, whoa, I did it. I overcame that. Being on construction does not mean complacency. It doesn't mean you stop. It means move on to the next construction job and keep the blueprints from the previous one because you may have to go back to them and rebuild something, change something, add an addition, incorporate it into your new blueprint plan. It's never over. There is no end. You are here now in this moment, but this moment has moved on to another moment. And that moment might bring in something that you are going to need to refer back to something that maybe you've forgotten about. I've talked about the box of BS, the boxes that we put in our backyards and bury them because we don't want to face them. It may be time to dig one of them out because they're full of blueprints that you need to change and address. Life is this way. We are this way. We are life. If life is moving on every single day without our control, without our consent, we don't know when we're going to die. And we're going to talk about in episode 6. I have a very good topic in episode 6 about death and something that is a lot of people don't talk about in terms of self-growth. And I'm looking forward to that one. But for now, we're looking at moments where success is obtained through the fact that we are constantly growing. So when that success comes, a lot of times, if we're focused on ourselves and we're really building, we're really putting into action what we can do, we don't even notice that we succeeded because we've already seen the success. We planned for it. We foresaw it. It happened. We expected it to happen. We were not surprised by it, and it made us better. We don't have time to cheer and pat ourselves on the back about every victory. Again, it's that 1 second. Yeah, I did it. Let's keep moving. There's momentum. That momentum is precious. It is invaluable. It is something that if you do not capitalize on it, you risk atrophy with it. You don't use it like muscles. They will go away. They will get soft. You'll be out of shape. And the next thing you know, you're unmotivated. You don't want to do anything. And you don't know how you got to this place. Even though you were trying, you were putting things in motion, you didn't capitalize enough on that momentum. And that momentum is powerful. That momentum is built upon the construction. We're all under construction. That momentum is important because we can use it to just focus in on what's working versus being petrified and filled with anxiety and stress about the things that aren't working. You can't control it anyway. Let's focus on the things that are working. It may not seem like much, but that's what we need to be focusing on. The stuff that's not working is teaching us anyway. But we don't have to focus on to the point where we're making ourselves filled with anxiety with it and stress. We can use it. Again, let's put it in a box of BS. If you need to put it in a room somewhere, we're not going to bury it in the backyard, but it can be put away for a while. Just to get some positive momentum going. Everything doesn't have to be fixed in a day. Being under construction doesn't mean there's some type of time limit. It's indefinite. You're always going to be under construction. Something will always be under construction. A tree is growing and there's always going to be something going on with that tree till the day it no longer grows. And that is how we are. Even with a structure, if we look at a building, there's a place that they build a building, then they demolish it, they build something else. It's just space and time. Unlike a building, we have a way of being able to have something to do with that process. A building doesn't. It's an inanimate object. We're sentient beings who are gifted with choice and empathy. We have a thinking mind. We have bodies that move. We have a long enough lifespan where we can really make some things happen, but short enough to put it all in perspective. Yet we waste it by not focusing on the things that serve us in a positive way. We waste it by taking people for granted and devaluing people and hoping people help us when we can do things ourselves and not pushing ourselves. And I can go on and on and on. Being under construction means being under the microscope. Get yourself under the microscope and you look at through any means necessary, as far into yourself as possible, and get some clarity. What a word, clarity. Get clarity about where you should even start. And a lot of times it's not hard. We make it hard because we don't want to face the truth, the reality of our lacks, our limits, our boundaries that we self-impose on ourselves. These are things we've done to ourselves. And being under construction means you have a giant eraser. You have a delete button. Start over. But starting over doesn't mean you start off from Genesis. You're not starting off from darkness. You're starting off from the best last save point. It's like a video game. You don't start the whole game over. This isn't the 1980s where you have to start the whole game over because you lost all your lives. We have save points now. You go back to your best save point and you start from there. You start with your team, the best team that you had. Yeah, you made some mistakes. You went down and the game started getting out of control. You lost some team members. You went down some wrong corridors. You didn't pick up enough ammo. You didn't pick up enough health, whatever it is. Go back and let's try this again with the right people, that we thought were invaluable 4 levels before. Now these people are extremely valuable because we missed them, because we needed them more than we thought we did. We thought we can do it by ourselves. Again, when I say we're facing off volcanoes alone, that doesn't mean the entire time. That just means at some points you're going to be separated, and those are your moments of integrity. You say, whoa. This is my moment to actually do something for myself that is beneficial for me. So when I meet back up with the people that I was with, I'm stronger, I'm smarter, I'm better, I'm spiritually more sound. You take advantage of being alone. That's your moment to say, no judgment, nobody's in my ear. I can take my time, get into my solitude, figure myself out. That's what integrity is all about. That's what one of the best things about self-discipline, self-control, self-respect for yourself, self-love, is that you have those moments of integrity where you can quiet everything down and say, okay, let me work on this and I'll be better off because I'm going to bring this back. Remember, we're going to bring something back because we're here to give. And they're doing the same thing. And if they're not, they'll get weeded out eventually and they'll be jettisoned if they don't have what they're asking. But I'm going to do my part. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Salute to you all. The brave never fall. We rise and maintain balance.